Fatiha Ayat from Bangladesh.
Good afternoon and Assalamu alaikum. My name is Fatiha Ayat and I am 7 years old child actor.
আসসালামু আলাইকুম বিসমিল্লাহির রহমানির রহিম আলহামদুলিল্লাহি রাব্বিল আলামিন। আজ আমি এমন একটি বিষয় নিয়ে এসেছি। আসলে আমি নিজের ভিডিও নিজে করতে সময় পাচ্ছি না। আমার সামনে পরীক্ষা, এই জন্য আর কি বিভিন্ন ঝামেলার কারণে আসলে নিজস্ব কোনো ভিডিও করতে পারতেছি না। আমি ক্লাস করি, যে ক্লাসগুলো মোরালিটি স্পিচ যেটাই করি সেটাও করতে পারতেছি না। কিন্তু আমি এমন কিছু বিষয় না জানাতে পারলে মনে হচ্ছে আসলে আমি একটা অপরাধ করতেছি। কারণ এই বিষয়গুলো যতটা শেয়ার হবে, যত মানুষ জানবে, তত মানুষ উদ্বুদ্ধ হবে, তত মানুষ ইন্সপায়ার্ড হবে কোনো ভালো কাজ করার জন্য। যেমন আমি আজকে একটা যে মেয়েটার কথা বলবো, মাত্র 7 বছর বয়স, মেয়েটির নাম ফাতেহা আয়াত। যে মেয়েটি ঢাকায় জন্মগ্রহণ করে ঢাকা থেকে তার লেখাপড়া স্টার্ট করেছে এবং সে 3য় শ্রেণীতে লেখাপড়া করে। যে মেয়েটি ইন্টারন্যাশনাল ইয়ুথ ডে 2019-এ একটি বক্তব্য দিয়েছে হাজার হাজার মানুষের মধ্যে, যে সে এমন মায়ানমারের রোহিঙ্গারা বাংলাদেশে আসার পরে তারা গাছ কেটে পরিবেশকে ধ্বংস করতেছে, এ সম্পর্কে আমরা আসলে প্রকাশ্যে কোনো কিছু বলি না বা এ সম্পর্কে কোনো প্রতিবাদ করি না। আমরা নিজস্বভাবে সহ্য করেছি, কিন্তু 7 বছর বয়সী মেয়ে সে সহ্য করতে পারে নাই। সে কিন্তু এটার প্রতিবাদ জানিয়েছে, শুধু আমাদের দেশেই নয়, বিশ্বের বুকে এটা প্রতিবাদ জানিয়েছে এবং এই পরিবেশ সংরক্ষণের জন্য তার কত প্রয়াস দেখেন সে কি বলেছিল।
Fatiha Ayat from Bangladesh.
Good afternoon and Assalamu alaikum. My name is Fatiha Ayat and I am 7 years old child actor. And to engage this youth of the sustainable development, today I am going to focus on the Principle 21 of the Rio Declaration, which was endorsed in the URN Summit in the Rio de Janeiro, a huge problem that has recently taken place in my country, Bangladesh. Refugee people from Myanmar, who are called the Rohingya, are cutting down trees from the forests and they're using the wood to build the houses and to cook, and they're burning the wood, and they are doing the deforestation, causing the carbon dioxide emission, and they are also doing the global warming, which I recently saw in Alaska. A couple of weeks ago I went to Alaska and I saw glaciers falling down, causing icebergs, and I saw the sea level rise. I became sad and I knew why that happened. It's because of the global warming that has spread around the world, including Bangladesh. So, if we want to stop this, then we have to train the youths of the Rohingya tribe so that they can teach their members of the family so that they can know when to stop this and how they can do something better for the world. Now I would like to thank you all again for letting me talk in this wonderful session, and I hope that you all convince the youths so that we can keep playing our role in the role of the youth. Thank you.
এরপরে শুধু এটাই নয়, এরপরে সে ডিজিটাল যে এনভায়রনমেন্ট পলিউশন সম্পর্কে, পরিবেশ দূষণ সম্পর্কে, আমরা যে পরিবেশটাকে সংরক্ষণের জন্য যে আমরা নিজেরা আসলে সচেতন নই, যেখানে আমরা বিবেকবান হওয়া সত্ত্বেও আমরা পরিবেশ সংরক্ষণে সচেতন নই। 7 বছর বয়সে একটি মেয়ে যে বক্তব্য দিয়েছে পরিবেশ সংরক্ষণের জন্য, সেই বক্তব্যটি আপনারা দেখেন কি বলেছে মেয়েটা।
We are here to talk about digital future of development. But at the same time, I'm also very sad that These digital solutions are not always for development. We can see with great sorrow that, by the name of development work, we are leaving debris in our environment and even in outer space. Our digital devices are creating carbon emission more than we expected, more than it should be. Children's primary health solutions are not always digitally available to their parents at their own limit. The point that I am basically most scared of is that there is no campaign to teach the parents that actually how to keep their children away from the radiation of digital access. You will easily find mobile towers on the terrace of school buildings and houses, causing high frequency radiation. So my plea to you is that this is your generation. You will have to act it. When I will get older, my generation will not be able to afford this because it will be too late to react. We do not want to bite this bullet. We do not want to swallow this bitter pill. Please allow us to sing. Please allow us to breathe. Thank you.
শুধু পরিবেশ নিয়ে যে কথা বলছে সেটাও নয়, সে প্রতিবাদ জানিয়ে যে কিছুদিন আগে শ্রীলঙ্কার রাজাপাকসা যে মুসলমানদের যারা করোনায় আক্রান্ত হয়ে মৃত্যুবরণ করেছে এমন মুসলমানদেরকেও পুড়িয়ে দিয়েছে। এমনকি কয়েকদিনের 15 থেকে 18 দিনের শিশুকে যে মুসলিম সে করোনা আক্রান্ত হয়ে মৃত্যুবরণ করেছে তাকেও পুড়িয়ে দিয়েছে। এরকম নিরীহ অত্যাচার, এরকম নিরীহ নির্যাতন আসলে আমরা শুনেছি, কিন্তু আমরা আমাদের পক্ষ থেকে কোনো প্রতিবাদ জানানো হয়। এই ছোট্ট মেয়েটি দেখেন কতভাবে প্রতিবাদ জানিয়েছে। আসলে স্যালুট মাই লিটল সিস্টার, যে এত সুন্দর প্রতিবাদ জানিয়েছে, ধন্যবাদ জানাই তাকে আমি। দেখেন ভিডিওটা।
Is that a joke? Are you kidding me, Mr. Mahinda Rajapaksa? Do these Muslim dead bodies mean to you biological weapons? Come on, can you really do that to your own citizens just because they are a religious minority? 20th December is International Human Solidarity Day. But on this day, I would like all of us to think that are we actually expressing our solidarity, especially on this day that what is happening all around the world? Are we expressing our solidarity for one another? Well, it is the high time to think about so, and that is why I would like to say that I do hereby like to express my annoyance and my anger and my frustration to the Sri Lankan government, while outrage is mounting in Sri Lanka after 15 Muslim coronavirus victims, including a baby, were cremated against contravention of the Islamic funeral. Assalamu alaikum, dear viewers. Health authority in Buddhist majority Sri Lanka insists that all of the victims of COVID-19 must be cremated even if they are Muslims. Sri Lankan Muslims have been left stripped of their human rights. Cremation in Islam is contemplated totally prohibited. It is considered blasphemous, it is wrong, and it is disrespectful, and it is something that must be avoided at any cost. It is against the honor of humankind to be treated after his death against his religion. Quran speaks about it in Surah Al-Taha, verse number 55. وَمِنْهَا خَلَقْنَاكُمْ وَفِيهَا نُعِيدُكُمْ وَمِنْهَا نُخْرِجُكُمْ تَارَةً أُخْرَى. And this means that we have created you from the soil, and we will return you into it. And from it, we will bring you back again. So, Muslims, cremation must be avoided. When the outbreak of the COVID-19 first appeared in March, the Sri Lankan government started forcibly cremating the Muslims under the guise of COVID-19, despite call to respect the religious sensitivities of their families. Now that a second wave of this COVID-19 is arriving in the country, Sri Lankan government has intensified this crackdown on Sri Lankan Muslims, while forcing larger number of families into the cremation of their dead relatives. The most recent case at this time involved a 20-day-old baby who died after allegedly testing positive for the virus. But the mother who was nursing the baby and also the father actually reported negative for the virus. The parents were left absolutely distraught that their preferences were dismissed and the baby was taken away from them to be cremated against their will. Astaghfirullah, na'udhu billah. The parents has lost their baby on December 8th, and even before they could process this devastating news, the authorities were ready to hand over the ashes to them. Dear viewers, this is the reason of outrage of myself and the Muslims in Sri Lanka. In Islam, to cremate bodies is to condemn them into hell. More shockingly, several of the Muslim bodies were cremated by the Sri Lankan authority had not been actually tested for the coronavirus, and some even tested negative for this pandemic. Sadly, some Muslim families have begun disowning their dead because they do not want to be complicit in the cremations, for which they see as a sin for their loved ones. Is that a joke? Are you kidding me, Mr. Mahinda Rajapaksa? Based on unsubstantiated claims the bodies of COVID-19 could contaminate groundwater, can you really do that to your own citizens just because they are a religious minority? Do these Muslim dead bodies mean to you biological weapons? Come on. Dear Mr. Mahinda Rajapaksa, please don't forget that the Sri Lanka is the only country which has mandated cremations aside from China. Dear Mr. Mahinda Rajapaksa, you have to stop this stern measures that are being conducted forcibly under the name of protection because it's terrifying for the Muslim citizens of Sri Lanka. Do not think of them as a minority. Treat them as citizens of your own country. You have to understand that for Muslims, burial of dead is non-negotiable religious practice. Today, they are feeling targeted, persecuted, and threatened by the manner which your government is acting on this. Dear viewers, I hope that you will also raise your voice with me to urge the Sri Lankan government, calling for the COVID-19 dead to be handled with dignity. Hence, I would like to dedicate this video to offer my deepest sympathy and condolences, along with sincerely praying for the victim Muslim families over there in Sri Lanka and offer words of consolation. I pray for this family earnestly. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala comfort the parents, and may the loss of this child be a mean for them to go to Jannah. Ameen. Thank you and assalamu alaikum.
শুধু এটাই নয় যে ফ্রান্সের যে মুহাম্মদ সাল্লাল্লাহু আলাইহি ওয়াসাল্লামকে যে অবমাননা করা হয়েছিল এই প্রতিবাদ আমরা কয়জন জানিয়েছি। এমানুয়েল ম্যাক্রোর বিরুদ্ধে কত বড় হুমকিমূলক কথা বলেছে, কত বড় প্রতিবাদ জানিয়েছে, আমরা দেখলে মুগ্ধ হয়ে যাব। দেখেন ভিডিওটা কি বলেছিল মেয়েটি।
And who are you, France, to lecture us about freedom of speech? Who are you, France, to tell us the crime of one man? Have you not taken a look at your own colonial past? Have you not took a look at your own crimes? Have you not seen the brutal occupation of Algeria for over 100 years? Millions of people were killed. Not one teacher, but millions of people, including innocent women and children. You established concentration camp way before Hitler. Don't come and tell us about freedom of speech. At the same time, I would like to say in a very clear voice for France is a superpower, for the land, for the nation, for the President Emmanuel Macron, not to use this incident to broadcast images of Prophet Muhammad ﷺ that are derogatory, demeaning, and humiliating. Not to reprint those images, not to shut down over thousands of mosques, not to arrest Muslim people for their verbal criticism. Please stop this. The heinous act of murder of one teacher is the outcome of one angry person who thinks that he will not get justice from your judicial system. And what is your response, Mr. President of France? This is not an example of a wise leader, Mr. Macron. You are causing a civil war between your societies. You are driving the minority people into thinking that they do not really belong to you. Assalamu alaikum, dear viewers. Today I am very angry, and I believe that all my Muslim brothers and sisters are also angry. We are painfully aware of what is happening in the land of France, the land that claims to be a champion of freedom of speech, liberty, inequality, and universal human rights. We are seeing this campaign, this brutal, xenophobic, Islamophobic campaign against our Rasul ﷺ, all under the guise of freedom of speech. All as a result of reaction of one unfortunate event, and they are using that incident of killing one teacher for displaying the cartoon of Prophet Muhammad ﷺ. This reminded me of an incident. Once, when some of the Sahabas were sent by the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ for an expedition of looking or spying, but not to cause any harm, something happened, and they killed one or two Quraishes inside the Haram of Mecca, in the sacred land. This was not something that they planned, but it just happened. And the Quraishes launched a very big campaign. Look at these Muslims. They do not honor the Haram of Mecca. In the Haram, they took life. Then Allah revealed a verse that shows us how to deal with this. Allah says, يَسْأَلُونَكَ عَنِ الشَّهْرِ الْحَرَامِ قِتَالٍ فِيهِ. They ask you about fighting in the sacred month, in the sacred land. قُلْ قَتَلٌ فِيهِ قَبِيرٌ. What happened is a qabir. It is not the right to kill in the haram. This is the justice of Allah. And we learn from there. We say loudly and clearly that it is not allowed to kill anybody. It is not allowed to read a book of fiqh and then think that you are applying Sharia where Sharia does not even apply in that land. This killing of French teacher is not allowed. And we unequivocally state this without any shame, any embarrassment. But at the same time, I would like to say in a very clear voice for France as a superpower, for the land, for the nation, for the President Emmanuel Macron, not to use this incident to broadcast images of Prophet Muhammad ﷺ that are derogatory, demeaning, and humiliating. Not to reprint those images, not to shut down over thousands of mosques, not to arrest Muslim people for their verbal criticism. Please stop this. This is not about freedom of speech. Not at all. Freedom of speech applies when the minority speaks against the majority, when the truth is spoken to the face of the power. That is the freedom of speech. When the president, the country, the army acts like punks and teach their own people to do bad things against the minority, to not do good things with the minority, this is not the freedom of speech. This is nothing but the incitement of hatred. This is criminalization against the whole religion of Islam. And who are you, France, to lecture us about freedom of speech? Who are you, France, to tell us the crime of one man? Have you not taken a look at your own colonial past? Have you not took a look at your own crimes? Have you not seen the brutal occupation of Algeria for over 100 years? Millions of people were killed. Not one teacher, but millions of people, including innocent women and children. You established concentration camp way before Hitler. Don't come and tell us about freedom of speech. You get angry at the murder of one man. And yes, that should have not happened. I understand that. But you do not look at what you yourself are doing to the one entire population. This murder did not come from Islam. It came from how you treat your minority. Like how they say that he should get a taste of his own medicine. It's just like that. I am not justifying, but I am contextualizing. The heinous act of murder of one teacher is the outcome of one angry person who thinks that he will not get justice from your judicial system. And what is your response, Mr. President of France? This is not an example of a wise leader, Mr. Macron. You are causing a civil war between your societies. You are driving the minority people into thinking that they do not really belong to you. Yes, It pains us that our Prophet Muhammad ﷺ is being dishonored, and that our hearts are full of anger, full of disgust. But, dear Muslims, we shall not fight with hatred. We shall fight with wisdom. We shall not fight hatred with hatred, but with wisdom, like our Prophet Muhammad ﷺ did. And the best way to honor him is to actually act upon his sunnah, to preach his message, and to show everyone how he was actually rahmatan lil alameen. And I tell you, it is not an easy battle. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to grant the Muslims of France, Muslims of Myanmar, Muslims of Palestine, Muslims of China, Muslims of Kashmir, to bear the pain that they have been experiencing, and may Allah give them relief. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless you and me. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgive us all. Assalamu alaikum. Allah Hafiz.
আসলে আমরা এই ছোট মানুষকে দেখে আমরা ইন্সপায়ার হয়ে অনুপ্রাণিত হব এবং আমরা এই এতটুকু মানুষে যদি উত্তম কাজগুলো করতে পারে আমরা কেন একটু তার মতো ভালো কাজ করতে পারবো না। আমরা বিবেক দিয়ে কাজ করে আমরা পরিবেশ সংরক্ষণের জন্য চেষ্টা করব এবং আমরা উত্তম কাজগুলো করার চেষ্টা করব যেন আমাদের এবং সবার মঙ্গল হয়।